With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Todd.
Excellent. Thanks, Indira. Once again, good afternoon or good morning to some people all. My name is Todd Moore, and I'm the Director of Field Operations for ARC Facilities. So, my job is to head up customer success, to make our customers super happy, to make sure that they're using the platform as much as they could be. So again, it's my privilege to welcome you to the first in the series of webinars, as Indira has mentioned. And we've named this webinar series Inside the Facility Conversations. And in this webinar series, what we're doing is we're highlighting ARC Facilities users that are using the platform in innovative, out-of-the-box ways. And I thought to start off with, there was no folks better than both Andrew and Tony. So Tony is the general maintenance coordinator at the CP, and Andrew is the assistant ground manager at ABM, also working with CP. So let me start off with just a little bit of background, and Tony or Andrew, you may have to help me here just in case. But a little bit about CP, located in Charlotte, North Carolina. Was founded in 1963, and since that point has evolved into a multi-campus college, more than 50 buildings covering about 4 million square feet. CP has enrollment of roughly 40,000 students and is the second largest community college in the North Carolina community college system and the largest in the metro Charlotte area. So let me kick it off and let's get some introductions done here. So first of all, I'll ask Tony. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been around.
Hi everyone. My name is Tony Berkstead. I'm the general maintenance coordinator for the college. I've been working for 4 years in this position. I work with ABM, the college's service provider, through all of our campuses, through all of our buildings. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from UNC Charlotte in Civil Engineering Technology and Construction Project Management. I really like what I do each day, come in and try to find solutions to problems we have across all of our buildings and interact with the great people we have here.
Excellent. Thanks, Tony. And just for my edification, what do you do? What is a general maintenance coordinator responsible for on a daily, weekly basis?
As general maintenance coordinator, I'm responsible for all the buildings, from the foundation to the roof and everything in between, with the exception of the HVAC system. I have a coordinator counterpart that does all the HVAC, and then there's a custodial coordinator. But yeah, everything from carpeting to roofs to windows to any problem that we may have. I'm responsible for finding a solution for that, whether it be through our service provider, ABM, who does our grounds, custodial, and maintenance and preventative maintenance and HVAC work, or to reaching out to architects, engineers, and contractors and helping either run that project through ABM or being a project manager myself for the college.
Excellent. Thank you. So Andrew, same question. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with the school.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Andrew Cilio. I've been with the school almost 2 years, coming up on my 2-year mark. I am the assistant grounds manager here with ABM at the school. I take care of everything outside, essentially. I'm a certified arborist, certified plant professional, pesticide license, beekeeper, you name it, I probably have a certification. My degree is in agriculture productions, and I got it from the University of Mount Olive. Fun fact, if you eat Mount Olive pickles, that's where I went to school, where they make the pickles. So that's what I do. I do everything from lawn care maintenance to IPM programs, pesticides, tree work, irrigation. Like I said, you name it, it's outside, it's me. Very cool.
And one thing that I like to call out, which I think is really cool, is Andrew is a beekeeper, or I guess a fledgling beekeeper, newly into it. Do you want to tell the quick story of how you've gotten involved?
So actually, yeah, it was one of the buildings that Tony's over. It's called Overcash, and there were some bees in the weeping holes, and bees like a one-way in and out kind of exit for their hives, and so they created a hive in there, and I was able to extract them out over a period of 4 to 6 weeks with a false hive, and now they're producing honey, and this is our first year. And I was actually supposed to extract honey today, but it's raining here in sunny North Carolina. and so we're gonna try to extract the honey next week. But yeah, I'm very excited and looking forward to extracting some local and free honey, considering I'll be doing it.
Very cool. Appreciate you sharing that.
Yes, sir.
So let's jump right into it. So, Tony, let me start off with you. Again, it seems like you've got a lot that you're potentially responsible for. Kind of at a high level, if you would explain to me how you're currently using the ARC Facilities platform in your daily, weekly responsibilities.
My main application for it is it'd be a tablet. It travels. I pretty much have it on me anytime I'm at work, and as long as I have Wi-Fi or jump off my mobile hotspot, I can work on that. Sometimes laptop and when I'm in the field, but climbing ladders and getting into potentially wet and dirty situations, the iPad's cheaper to replace. But the great thing about this platform is that you can work on a phone, a tablet, your laptop or PC, and it's nearly seamless through all those applications. So it's not like learning 2 different programs. It helps on both of those fronts. But my primary is a tablet. Day to day, whether I find something, I can take pictures and edit a floor plan or a PDF. And share that with a variety of users. I can send it to a work order system we have to have ABM take care of that issue, or I can send it to my supervisors, architects, engineers, contractors, and a variety of people, and instantly mark it up, share it same time, and then get that feedback, especially if it's something that's pressing and has to be taken care of quickly.
Gotcha. Thank you. And Andrew, same question for you. Once again, I can only imagine most of your work is outside. Same kind of usage for you, mobile device, PC, or primarily mobile device?
Honestly, probably more mobile device as far as the initial input of the data. But as far as everyday use, I probably use the desktop and the mobile device equally, just because it depends on what it is and where I'm at. If I'm on central campus where my office is, it's easier. Now I like the desktop more because I have 2 screens on a desktop, so I can do more things at a time versus the iPad. I can only do, 1 thing at a time. But if I'm out in the field at another campus and I just need to upload a picture or go take a look at something, then yeah, it's definitely the iPad. But I primarily use both equally, except for like I said, the initial input of the data was definitely more mobile device.
Gotcha. So I've got to ask the question: Apple or Android?
ABM provided me with Apple. Okay. I have iPads. Yeah. I'm not sure what the school uses.
At first, I tried to stay Android, but I have an iPad, so I had to break down and get the college purchased an iPad for me. And the iPad version of the app works much better than the small Android version.
Gotcha. Okay, good. So before implementing ARC Facilities platform, Tony, you were actually at CP. You were at the school before ARC Facilities was actually launched and deployed, and we've done all of our work. So before the ARC Facilities platform, if you can remember before the ARC Facilities platform, how were you accessing plans and documents, and how were you sharing those?
So prior to the implementation of ARC, we had most of our historical documents in a digital format, and we could share those, but they were on a drive, and through the server through the college. We had a plan room with paper copies. I could print out, the digital copies, but if I was remote and not somewhere I could access a workstation, I would on a laptop, I'd have to remote in, and it was very cumbersome and a lot of lag time between what I wanted to do and what I could send. And I've had the privilege of, as soon as I started, my supervisor kept talking about ARC and this great thing that's going to be. And so I've got to see it from its infancy and to what it is today, and knowing what it will be in the future too, as we continue to improve and grow on it. That's been a tremendous asset to see it where we were to where we are today.
Excellent, excellent. And I know you had talked about sharing documents, as we were speaking a little bit earlier. Sharing documents with outsiders, with contractors, with architects, with with vendors and whatnot. So before the ARC platform, it sounded like that was probably a fairly cumbersome task as well.
Correct, especially if I wasn't at my workstation in my office and trying to remote in through our network. And now whatever I am looking at on the platform, I can send, and especially the great feature is the annotations button, where I can send any of my comments, highlighted, an arrow, call out box or a text box, and say, this is where I'm focused on, or what do you think of this? And then, sending a picture too, just another layer of data sharing that can help solve a problem.
Yep, appreciate that. That's certainly good insight. So, I know at one point, CP was largely paper based, and then had gone through the scanning and digitization process, and of course, it seems like a lot of documents nowadays are being produced in electronic format, right? Whether it's CAD or whether it's PDF, but still, what we find as a whole is a lot of our customers still have a great collection of our documents that are still paper based. And it seems like, unfortunately, work is done at the speed of paper, right? If that's such a thing, it just, takes so long to be able to search through things and find things and locate things and scan them and mark them up and print it and everything else that goes into working with, with paper documents. So, prior to, to working with the school, prior to using ARC facilities, did you run into that same thing as well? I mean, did you see, a large amount of the collections being paper based, or were they far enough ahead that they were digital as well?
We've had, I've been around for the digital, but I've worked in construction long enough that, anytime we would print out a set of plans and any notification from an architect engineer, it's, 15 copies that get, you have to send to a traditional printer, have them picked up, and then have them sent out to the subcontractors. So the digital format has definitely helped sharing information much quicker than previous, and help getting ideas across.
Gotcha. And Andrew, you've probably added another couple of layers into that. So, besides site plans and documents like that you're working with, you're now taking pictures of your beds, you're going through a full explanation and trying to incorporate that all in. So, I would imagine if it weren't a digital environment, you would have tons of paper, tons of files,
Yeah.
kind of randomly scattered throughout.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, obviously, as I mentioned in the very beginning, the school has, 50 buildings, 50 plus buildings across a number of campuses, and just remembering where everything is, must be a huge task. It certainly was for me and my team when we came on site, trying to remember, each building and each campus and where we needed to go. We, just a fun story. A couple of months ago, we had a large a group session, and as I was showing some of the participants in the session how to find something as simple as a shutoff valve, I showed a shut off valve in one of the buildings, and one of the gentlemen that had been there, at the school for over 10 years, raises his hand and says, Todd, I've been here for well over 10 years. I don't remember that. I think that you're wrong. I don't think that that's actually there. So, I showed the picture of it. We had marked it, and I showed the picture of it. And we kind of looked around the room. Anybody else from this campus? Anybody remembers that? No one really remembered that. So we ended the training session. Are there any questions? No questions. And this gentleman came up to me and he said, the first thing I'm going to do, right? I said, yeah, you're probably going to go to that campus and try to find that shutoff valve, aren't you? And he says, yeah, I am. And he actually came back to me the next day and he says, well, you were right. He says, I can't believe that I never saw that there, that I've never knew that was there. So again, that kind of speaks wonders, into just all that, amount of information, all of that space that you've got. So, my question to the both of you are, now that you're using the platform, how are you capturing more information? And probably even more specifically, how are you capturing all of the institutional information? How's that benefit you? How's that benefit the team?
As far as the data capture, we had the initial data capture, and then we've come back and added different things that we want as far as carpet. We're starting to get into paints. So we know this room right here has 2 different color paints. I would know this accent wall is a paint number, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the other is the other paint number. But the data capture, and we can build on it. That's the great thing. I know when we have the quick service maps, we can go back and look at the different types of information that we want to capture and break it down by almost by trade or type of material.
Right, yeah, to piggyback off of that, we use it for pins such as like Christmas trees, locations, annual bed locations, flower bed locations, pot locations, irrigation zones, all that kind of stuff. And we have all the documentation as far as tree work and quotes within that particular project for that pin and stuff. So very much is a help. And that first layer that you guys initially did with the grounds aspect was great. And then we've gone back and added those particular pins and documentations and hyperlinks.
Very cool. Very cool. So along those same lines, and once again, just another quick story. My team just returned from being on site with a client in California just a week or 2 ago. And while we were there, as we were walking through the buildings with our escort, every now and again he would stop and he would take a picture of a ceiling tile or take a picture of a door or of a wall, kind of miscellaneous things. And we finally asked him, gee, what are you doing? And he said, well, really, as we walk through our buildings, we want to catch any little problem before it becomes a big problem. So, for example, the stained ceiling tile, if there's a couple of drips on that ceiling tile, although aesthetically not horrible, eventually it could develop into a bigger problem, right? Is there a leak there? Is there something leaking? Is there something else going on? So, my question to the both of you are, have you been able to use the platform to respond to any emergency situations, on the campus?
Yes, definitely. One example, we had a drinking fountain, an internal component of it broke in early morning hours. We were able to locate the shutoff in a relatively quick manner and helped prevent that from flooding the entire building. Instead, it was just a few rooms that had slight water damage. But on a daily basis, as I'm walking through our buildings, constantly looking for any issue that minor to major, taking a picture. And then for our work order system, I have the picture, and then I can have a PDF from the floor plan through ARC and have an arrow or a call out box or anything like that. When I first started, I put a work order, room 1, 2, 3, paint the left-hand wall. And I got a little bit of kickback saying, well, which left-hand wall? So that made me look at how I look at things, and you're only as good as the information you give. So now I can highlight which wall I'm talking about in 1, 2, 3 in room 1, 2, 3 with an arrow, or highlight it, send that PDF, attach it to my work order, and then share it with our painter. And then it just helps that much more. There's no question about which wall I was talking about now. And then, you know, from an as-built, anything, an issue with a leak in a roof, or an issue with, I've got a project we're looking into, we're going to add some electrical. So what's existing on that breaker box right now, share that with the engineer. He can come back and design what he needs to, knowing that there's enough room to expand in that breaker box, and we don't need to add a second one. Things like that I can share in real time. And the amount I've been talking, I could have pulled up the as-built and sent it to you, and that way we're both on the same page, looking at the same thing in real time. So it's been a tremendous time saver.
Right.
Yeah, and for me over here in grounds, our biggest thing emergency wise is, you know, tree branches or fallen trees, you know, and weather like this week where it's just constant rain. So one thing I utilize whenever that situation occurs is I use the markup features in the Art Facilities app, an arrow text box, and say, well, there's a tree over here with a branch that has fallen or is hanging there, and then the app actually allows you to send it via email or text. And so because most of our grounds crew don't have, you know, an ABM email, I'll send it via text to them on their phone. So all they see is that PDF of what I've marked up and what I'm telling them. And they can just, so say I'm here at Maracas and there's a branch over at Cato or Central Campus, I can go ahead and mark it up while I'm here and send it to them via text message, and they can go do it. And I'm still sitting here talking to you guys.
Very cool. Very cool. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So Tony, Andrew, you've worked with me enough to kind of know my saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? I think we've about got 1,000 words in here. So Tony, would you log into the platform? I know that you kind of wanted to walk us through some real life examples and how you were using the platform. If you don't mind, why don't you share your screen? Why don't we look at the application, and you can walk us through some of the practical things that you've been using the app for on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Can you see my screen?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. This is our Cato campus. And on a project I did last week, we were looking to add some carpet to some existing classrooms to upgrade from VCT to carpeting. Knowing that our Cato 3 building, it's about a 6-7-year-old building, has VCT in traditional computer classrooms and regular education classrooms. So I can pull up our floor plans. So from our pins, we like a lot of data, so we capture a lot. Let me clean up the floor plan a little bit. So I can look and see what areas have carpet right now, different types of floor. So we have LVT in some places, carpet in some places, and then VCT. So I could go to these classrooms and look, and the great thing about ARC is we have a picture, there we go, a picture of existing carpet, excuse me, of existing VCT. So we have a tricolor VCT band that is in there, and I know that this isn't a chemistry lab, or it's not a food or any kind of cooking location. So I could go through and I did my tally. Based on that, I would say that all of these classrooms on this first floor that have VCT, and then I can then share this with my carpet installers and get get a rough estimate on my bid, I have, what's that, 9-10 classrooms and a couple of public spaces. The VCT and the corridors would remain, but it just helps in that. Another, I can go in and this computer classroom right here, say someone dragged their chair across this and I want this wall right here painted. I can highlight that, add an arrow or a call out box.
Oh, the arrows.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. An arrow or a call out box so we know exactly in room 117, I'd like this wall painted. And then I can share that with my export. The computer is not my friend today. But I can quickly share and export this plan out. One great thing as we get into showing our any new employee, I've always told them from the beginning, you can't mess anything up. We have a range of employees that are very tech savvy, like Andrew to my right. And then we have some that have very little computer or phone time or tablet time. So from implementing this across all of our ABM, and then we're sharing it also with security and different programs throughout the college. First and foremost, telling them that you can't mess anything up. It's been a great asset. And I think there's been a few people, especially technicians that have been around, they've been doing this for 20, 30 years. It's helped them navigate the system, knowing that as they're in it, as they're working on it, that it's there to help them, and then they can't really mess up any of our historical data that we have saved in the program.
Excellent, excellent. So one of the kind of a follow-up question I have to that, and that's that's a really good point that that you've got all of this data essentially remotely with ARC facilities. Obviously we're grabbing floor plans, we're grabbing building information, we're grabbing site information, and we're including a lot of the shutoffs and emergency assets and equipment assets that are on those sites. And like I said, that's a tremendous amount of information for one building. Now multiply that times 50 for the 50 buildings that you've got in 4 million square feet that you've got, and it's just a tremendous amount of data that's there. We've always talked about, when we hand over the keys, right? When we finally implement, this solution, and you have your username and password, you have all of this information from day one. So whether you're someone who's moving to a new campus, whether you're a new employee, whether you're walking into a building that you've not been in before, this is now all information that you might not have known before, that now is really in your in your hand, right? It's on your mobile device, it's on your PC to be able to access. So one of the folks that we were talking to told us a story, and essentially what he said is his first project when he came to the school was to find, locate, and then record asset numbers for every one of the fire extinguishers. So on a school the size of yours, must have or could have potentially taken forever to do. But he was telling me, he grabbed his iPad, because the fire extinguishers were all captured, were all labeled, and were all placed logically on floor plan. He was able to walk from one to the other one, record each one of the assets, or the asset numbers, move on to the next classroom, and essentially the project that would have taken weeks and weeks and weeks, he completed in half that time. So, kind of my follow-up question is, and you touched on it a little bit, but, from other members of your team, how does this platform, or do you use this platform to help train other members of your team, or more specifically, to train newer folks that are joining the organization?
Yeah, definitely. New employees, it's great for their onboarding process, bring them up to speed. We've been moving around some of our maintenance technicians. So if someone been at one campus for a long time, we're moving technicians around so that they have multiple location historical knowledge of it. And this can bring them up to speed as far as any of the information that they may need, from emergency shutoffs to fire extinguishers to once we have preventative maintenance, where is the eye wash station in a chemistry lab or where boiler chiller information in some of our energy plants. It can help bring them up to speed that much faster just to find the location. And then once we click on it, we can have who made it, make, model, number, when it was last serviced. We can pull up the previous reports on any issues. So it's been a tremendous asset. And for our existing employees, getting them comfortable with the program and helping them just makes it that much more smoother for them to move from one location to another instead of calling the guy that was there before and could be a half-hour conversation on where things are. 2 minutes and walking through ARC together and that guy's off and running. So it's a great asset.
Outstanding. Andrew?
Yes, sir.
So, I was, and Tony, thanks so much. This was, this is really, really cool. Some of the things that you've done with this. And I know you're constantly adding information to this platform, fugitive information as your director says, and I love that quote. I use that all the time. Information that exists somewhere, right? Is it on a hard drive? Is it on a server, a CD? Where does it exist? We know it's somewhere, but we can't really quickly put our hands on it. So, and Tony, everything that you do, at the school kind of leads to that and what it is you're doing here, which is really cool. And so I'll move to Andrew, and when I saw what he's done on the platform, I was blown away. And Andrew's responsibilities are different from Tony, and Andrew has really taken this to the next step. I mean, last time Andrew and I talked and really took a hard look into what it is he does and how he uses the platform. It's really out of the box thinking. So, he had mentioned, well, gee, Todd, I use it to track my annual beds, my planting beds, for my irrigation zones. We're alerting campus security and our campus director to know what work is happening on their campus before it happens on their campus. We're mapping out areas to know how much we need to mow. So when one of the crews goes there to mow grass, we know how long it's going to take. So really some cool, innovative things that, that Andrew is doing here. So Andrew, just like, Tony showed some of his, day-to-day responsibility in a current project that he's working on. Walk us through how you're using it for some of your day-to-day, week-to-week activities.
All right. So, yeah, I have two different maps that I primarily work out of as far as art. I have this landscape hardscape map and then the irrigation zones. I'll start with the irrigation zones map just because there's a little less on here. If you go up here to your pins, so this shows you all the pins and stuff that we've put in there so far. So you got the irrigation boxes, we have 26 of them. Irrigation controllers, we have 3. So right now I'm just gonna do the boxes and I'm also gonna do the zones. So for instance, as far as like the irrigation boxes, these tell you where the valve box is located on the campus. And then as you see right there in the preview, it says valve box zones 1, 2, and 3. So this particular box controls the zones 1, 2, and 3. And you have your 2 pictures here of the box itself, and then with it open as well. And you can see inside what it looks like as far as, the 1, 2, 3 zones that it controls. Another usage that I did with the irrigation is over here. I have 2 different pins because the zones, there's so many that I had to split it into 2 pins because each pin can only hold, I think, 15 pictures. So I found a way to use the maps that are given to me, and I created the zones like this, and I was able to draw the zones out. So this is zone 1. So you got the number here with a color, and you got 2, and so on and so forth. And it goes all throughout the campus. This is Cato 1 right here and Cato 2. And then the other irrigation zone map, which is the other pin here, is Cato 3 with the different zones and stuff. And here I even have the description of when I initially was doing the zones, some of them we didn't know where they were because they didn't come up at the time. So I wasn't able to implement them into my map here. So for instance, this whole section right here, which I need to update obviously, but this whole section right here, for whatever reason, when we were initially testing it, didn't turn on. So I didn't know exactly what zone it was, so I left it blank. However, I've gone back and said, you know, it needs to be put back in. And then each color of that map represents the zone, and you can just, okay, this kind of blue color was zone 17, or if you don't want to do it by color, you could just do it by the number, because again, each one of these has the corresponding number with their corresponding color, and it gives you the description of what it is on that particular color and then the zone as well. So that's what I've done for the irrigation side on this irrigation map.
So let me stop you there and ask, and I think this is pretty pertinent. So before ARC Facilities, how did you manage that information? Where was it?
Yeah, stored in someone's head. So the irrigation tech, he's been here a lot longer than myself. Like I said, I've only been here almost 2 years, not even 2 years yet. I'm about 1.5 years in. But through our irrigation tech, he's been here about 5 years, I believe. He and one of the vendors that they used, that we still use, they very much had a lot of it in their head. Now, some of it was written down and some of it was on the site plans that, you know, the school provided for us and stuff. But, you know, things change throughout the years, especially with the additions of sidewalks or book returns or benches or whatever. And sometimes the irrigation gets messed up and they gotta, you know, we gotta reroute it in some sort of way or redo the zone. So before this, it was very much, oh yeah, I think that's over there.
So what I hear is if that tech would have left or a vendor would have been changed, there'd been a lot of information that would probably be lost.
Correct. And or someone, you know, the theory would be to train someone behind you. So hopefully that didn't happen. But yes, without that, you are correct.
Right.
So the second portion of where I live is this landscape hardscape map. I'm gonna hide all these pins real quick. So up here in the pins, I used for my landscape hardscape, I used the annual beds. I created these. There's 5. Christmas tree location for when we put up the Christmas trees. Let me see, new signs. The school put up new signs, so I put in the new sign design, and then plant replacements as well. Back in the fall, I did a whole plant replacement, you know, for the school. So of trees and shrubs that were dying out. Another thing that's up here in the corner is hyperlinks. And as you can see, it has the one here. But what it is this little cloud. And if you click it, it brings you to our Tree Campus USA survey that shows all of our trees and where they're located and as far as their tags and stuff. And that's what I used to help myself with the plant replacements. So as you can see here, this says 1 red maple. I found it in the 22 and it was replaced in the fall of 2020. But you can also see here the tag number for that tree was 255. And I got that information via the hyperlink here to that particular site that brings us that information. And then again, here we have our Christmas tree location. You can click into the pin. Oh, I haven't updated that, I'm sorry. But that's where the Christmas tree goes. And I have the pictures, I just haven't uploaded it yet. Here is your different annual beds throughout the campus. And as you can see over to the, as you hover over it, you got your descriptions there. And I'll go back to this one here. And you can see here in the description, the spring of 22, this was the Cato Circle bed, what's in there and how much of it. This is what we did in the fall. And then again, back here in the spring. And then you have the pictures that correlate with it to, represent exactly what's in here. Now, if anything changed in here, you can go into the description and edit it, of course. And the last thing, one of the last things I use as far as documentation is when the new sign designs went in, this was designed by the grounds coordinator. I have the pictures here of what it looked like after it was, initially installed. Once it loads, there we go. So you can see this is what it looked like when it was first installed. And then you have the documentation here of his actual design and how it was supposed to look like and how much of everything was supposed to be there. So that's a cool, unique feature that I like to use as well. When any type of documentation needs to be put in, I can put it in that particular pin as well. And then I have a few other things on other campuses as well, but those are the primary things that I use as far as the landscape, hardscape stuff and irrigation for grounds.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That is so impressive. That is so impressive. So, I mean, you alone, there's no doubt that you've spent just a lot of time inputting all of this information. You probably come upon things every day. Oh, gee, we could probably use it for this. We could probably use it for, for something else. But now that you've got a lot of this information that's in the platform already, I mean, how much do you use this on a weekly basis or even on a daily basis? Is it something that you'll look at once a day, once a week, once a month? What do you think about it as far as access from you? And then how much does your team use it as well?
So I probably use, I guess for me, it's definitely seasonal. So like obviously spring and fall when we're getting the annuals and ordering them and putting them in. But what we do is we come up with the design, and then before we even get the bed or the plants themselves, and we know what we ordered and where the plants are going, I'll come in here and put fall of 23 and we're putting cabbages, pansies, kales, whatever back in that bed. So that way the description is already there. So then by the time it's planted, I can go back and actually add, all I have to do is add the picture. Another thing that I use it for over here, I actually forgot to mention, was square footage. And this is another documentation that we have for it. There's no pictures, but this document has the square footage of the particular campus as far as mowing square footage. So back to your training thing, we can show that to a new crew lead or a new person on the mower and say, hey, this is how much and where. So that's very helpful as well.
Gotcha. And how about your team? I would assume, based upon the way you explained it, your team is probably more seasonal usage as well.
Yeah. So the team, our irrigation tech uses it more than any of them, just because we have to put in the irrigation zones and all that stuff as well, and the information. And again, if anything is rerouted or broken up and we have to move it or some sort of project like that, we would have to go back in here and do it that way. And he's more on top of that, unless he sends me the information, and then I can do it. But really only our irrigation tech and our crew leads have access to ARC because, for instance, with the plant replacements, I was able to tell them, hey, just pull up the Cato map and do the pins and just do your plant replacements. And you can go in there, hover over your plant replacement and see they needed 8 sky pencils to be replaced at this particular location here on Cato. And then over here, they needed a cherry tree to be replaced at this particular location, so on and so forth. So I didn't have to physically be there with them and walk the campus with them and say, this one, that one, this one, that one. They could just go ahead, hey, this is a pin, here's the picture of the dead tree, and it needs to come out and we will replace it once we get the new tree in. So this is one of the dead / dying trees. You can see it has very little leaves here. It was on its way out, so we replaced that one. So it's really our lead techs and the irrigation tech, and then myself who uses it, and I use it dominantly just because I'm, again, more involved and I delegate myself time to get familiar with this and actually use it to benefit not only grounds, but ABM as well.
Outstanding, outstanding. That is really some cool stuff. I'm so glad that you shared that with us. And Tony, same with you. I can only imagine, with just that one small project that you showed, if you didn't have, something like the ARC platform, you would need to go to the building. You would need to actually do a physical walk of each one of the offices, of each one of the spaces on the first floor, the second floor, and kind of do just an analysis of each to see what had to be replaced. You would have to somehow write that up. You would somehow have to get that to your vendor. I would imagine there's a lot more steps in there than just maybe downloading that picture with those markups and sending it to somebody.
Correct. And that's what I did with my contractor, is put a little tick mark next to the room, and I could screenshot in an email the PDF to him, and then share across that way in a moment, instead of, hey, can you meet me there Thursday at 12 or Friday between 9 and 11, and this way I send him exactly what, and then it's a tremendous asset for the college and for ABM to have this at our have this in our toolbox.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to show us these practical applications. This has been really cool. So as we're coming up upon the hour, what I do want to do is stop and Indira, wanted to check with you to see if there's any questions that have come in through the chat.
Yes, we do have some questions that have come in. Thanks again, guys, for showing us this really cool stuff you're doing with the app. So when Tony was showing, I believe, like the carpets and things, someone asked, can you add the room sizes too?
Yes, you sure can. There is a feature to calibrate it. Sorry, let me get my bearings, and I'll get on the same page I was earlier. So there is a way to measure it. There's a little calibration tool, and most doorways. Let me get in a little bit closer. Most doorways are 3 foot, so that helps us calibrate it. So you measure this distance here. And from there, if you go back to the calibration menu before, only the measure tool was there. So you can get a line measurement, rectangular measurement, or you can get an area, which is great. Make sure I clicked it, right one. So classroom 110, I can come back, and then I know it's about 900 square feet. Plus or minus 10 feet based on my zooming. And then I can add all those up, and it also gives me a rough estimate if I know how many yards of carpet I need. Kind of gives me a ballpark based on what current prices are to price out a project. This building here is 4 stories. So not every classroom needs it, but it gives me a ballpark, excuse me, of it helps when I know what the number should be from my flooring contractor. This way, when my supervisors ask for the number, I can give them a ballpark that's closer, and then we have the actual number to go off of too. So it's a tremendous asset.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Andrea?
Thanks for showing that. I appreciate it. Okay, I have some more questions here. So here's one from the demo that they showed. It looks like there was a lot of detailed information input into the platform. How difficult was it to upload all of that information?
It's kind of that old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So let me pull my pins back up. And it does get a bit busy when you see all the pins. There we go. For instance, this outlet in the public, I don't know if it has a description, but we would definitely have a picture on everything. From here, we can go back and we should have it listed of what circuit it goes to. And from there, so yeah, circuit 1 LB CKT 23. I can also search that in ARC and it would tell me where that circuit is. It's tremendously helpful. And then as we get further into it, so this is just our basic floor plan that has flooring types, drinking fountains, water fountains, hose bibs, and then our walk-off mats and things like that, main entrance points. But we have, security layer, lighting layer. We can use it for our keying, so we know how to key each doorway based on the need, if it's an office suite or a classroom. The grounds, custodial. I was recently at a trade show and I talked with Todd's counterpart, David, and he mentioned that one user is using it as kind of a triage. So they have a blank floor plan. And if they find a, stained ceiling tile somewhere, that pin, they would create it, and I can create a pin right here, right now, for, a stained ceiling tile in this lobby area right here. And then that pin wouldn't go away until that work order is complete and that ceiling tile has been, so that's something that is very interesting and another way to use this our facilities platform above and beyond what we initially thought. Our public art, the college has a great selection of public art, private and public. So for someone like a certain artist, they can search that, look for that artist, and then find out where he or she may have art in and around our campuses. Anything else?
Very
Great.
nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Nadir, we probably have time for just one more question, being mindful of time.
Okay, here's a question. How much training was provided by ARC Facilities when the platform was initially launched?
I kind of, worked into it baby steps, but then with Todd and David and his team, they were here on campuses, and I would walk with them, pick their brain, and then, but with minimal use, and you try a couple features that you know how to do, and then just build from there. I would say, a 30, 45-minute session with someone over the basics on what they will use it for, and then have them grow into it. They can hit the ground running. It's very easy. It's intuitive to pick up, and then once it builds from there. Once beyond, I'm in maintenance, so looking at floor types or shutoffs or something like that, to get into any other system that we need.
Yeah, and Andrew, that's probably a pertinent question for you as well. I remember you were in one of the first sessions that we did. We kind of always said, if you can tap, if you can pinch, and you can swipe, you've managed all the navigation. Obviously, you've done a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But what do you think the learning curve was as far as you're concerned, or some of your folks, your supervisors, are concerned?
Yeah, I mean, I attended the first session when this was initially rolled out, and I think it was like a 45-minute session. And honestly, at grounds, in the aspect of using ARC for grounds, wasn't really talked about a whole lot, but just for the initial education of how to create a pin, doing the measurements, using the hyperlinks, being able to do all that stuff, and seeing how I can use it I then was able to come up on my own and figure out, okay, I could do this for plant replacements because, you know, there's a lot of plants on these campuses. I'm not going to remember where every one of them are. So I can create a pin, add a picture, and even a document if I need to. Same thing with tree work. I can have quotes in that pin so I know who quoted me what, and then pick whatever quote I want as far as, you know, that this was the better one to do. For me, it was pretty easy because I'm still in my 20s, so I'm pretty young. I grew up with the technology, and this isn't my first ArcGIS program that I've used, but this is my first facilities ArcGIS program that I've used. So for me, it was a little easier just because I again grew up with the technology and it was incorporated in me already through my education. As far as like my manager and the other supervisors who are older than me, it took them maybe 2 or 3 sessions to get in depth like I have gotten. And I would say they're not as in depth as I am, but it took 2 or 3 sessions for them to, you know, master it, I guess, and be able to teach the crew under them that, hey, this is how you use it, and this is how I can send you the email or the text message.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you very much. So really, I mean, we're almost at the top of the hour here. So, you know, I would like to, you know, offer a special thanks to Andrew and Tony. You know, you've shown a lot of really great stuff, a lot of really innovative ideas on how you use the platform. You know, certainly you've gone well beyond, you know, what I even thought was possible with the platform. It's just a fantastic job. So, Andira, I am going to turn it back to you, and we will conclude the session for today. Once again, thanks everybody for attending.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Andrew, Tony, thanks. That was really fantastic, the way you guys are using the solution, and I appreciate that. Todd, thanks for moderating. And if for anybody who was interested in getting the contact information for Todd, I will definitely I can send that over to you via email. And again, we recorded this session, and look for a follow-up email from ARC Facilities. Feel free to visit arcfacilities.com if you have any questions, and hope to see you guys in the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.